the king of the fast food industry, which is the largest fast food chain serving over 69 million customers in over 100 countries. The Golden Arches restaurant started its business in 1940 with its original founders, Richard and Maurice McDonald. But the story of the franchise is one that is full of its ups and downs. How a pianist turned milkshake machine salesman overthrew the brothers to making this company famous around the globe. This is the story of McDonald's. As with most of the starting businesses, McDonald's also had a humble beginning. The brothers, Richard and Maurice McDonald's, opened up the fast food restaurant in San Bernardino in 1940. They named it after their family name, McDonald's. The first McDonald's was a drive-in restaurant. During that time, drive-in restaurants were the craze. People loved the idea of ordering their food in their car and getting it delivered to them. Watching how popular this idea was, McDonald's also adopted the same system. There they started the speedy service, which is now the standard for every fast food restaurant. McDonald's were the first to revolutionize the idea of serving food in a fast, reliable, and standardized manner. They invented this system which is now being used all over the world. This also boosted their popularity in their area. Their humble shop was now the topic of discussion for the whole area. People were going there to have a good time and also a great meal. Within just a few years, they had to hire multiple people just to keep up with demand. The brothers also made up a fortune, opening up multiple McDonald's as well. The original mascot of McDonald's was not Ronald McDonald, but a head chef named Speedy. This was the start of the multi-billion-dollar brand. But there were also some troubles. The brothers were not enjoying the process anymore. They also found it difficult keeping up with all the different types of foods they were serving across all McDonald's. So in 1949, they decided to condense their menu to just 3 items, which is hamburgers, fries, and shakes. This helped them out a lot. That's because hamburgers were already pre-made and packed and reheated upon serving. This saved a lot of time in preparing the food and also saved a lot of time for waiting for the customers. The decision was very well received. People were coming in by the hundreds every day to McDonald's. They loved the idea of being served their food so fast. After that, they started looking for a franchise agency to grow their brand even more. This is where it all changed for the brothers as well as the company as a whole. In comes the main protagonist of the story, Ray Kroc. Although the name and the first restaurant were of the McDonald's brothers, Ray Kroc became the founder. Kroc was a simple milkshake machine salesman at the time. In his early years, he worked multiple jobs, including as a paper cup salesman. He was born on October 2, 1902 in Illinois. Kroc's father made a fortune by speculating land in the 1920s. But during the stock market crash in 1929, he lost everything. During World War I, Ray Kroc wanted to serve his country. He could not just sit in his home when his fellow countrymen fought with their life on the line. So he lied about his age and got into the army as a Red Cross ambulance driver at the age of 15. Here, he would also get to know Walt Disney as he was in the same training regiment as Ray. Soon after his entry, the war ended and Ray came back home. After the war, he worked as a paper cup salesman, real estate agent, and also as a member of a band, playing the piano. He had a simple life. He had a wife named Ethel Fleming and 1 child. The years leading up to him with his first interaction with the McDonald's brothers and the restaurant chain, he sold milkshake machines. But as the industry grew, new and better equipment came in to replace the company he worked for. Out of nowhere, he was surprised to see that he received an order of 8 machines for a restaurant. Normally, restaurants order 1 or a maximum of 2. Having an order of 8 was very unusual and he was interested why they wanted so many. He personally visited them and there he saw what would become his greatest legacy, the McDonald's. He was very impressed looking at the line of customers and the service that they provided. The orders were delivered very fast. He then realized the impact that the 8 machines would make for a place like this. Talking to the brothers and getting the tour of how the operations work made Ray very impressed. He also learned that the brothers were looking for a franchising agent. Because Ray was so impressed with the restaurant, he wanted to be a part of it. He wanted to take it to new levels, to new heights that no one would ever think of. He asked the brothers whether he could become their new agent, and they agreed. They signed a contract and started the era of Ray Kroc, franchising the largest fast food chain. But there's still a lot more to this story. The contract that the brothers signed made it so that each new franchise store of McDonald's opened, he would receive some fixed amount along with a percentage, and the brothers would receive a 0.5% of the total gross income of the store. The percentage that Ray received, we would come to know, was very less. Nonetheless, Ray was happy that he received that offer. He started opening up new restaurants throughout the country. The brothers were reluctant about reaching the further side of the country as they believed that the speedy service would not work in a damp and raining cities. But as Ray was experienced in sales, he convinced them to agree and open up restaurants in many locations. Ray also assumed the major responsibilities for opening these restaurants. There were many accounts that working with the brothers was very hard. They were not very active in expanding the brand. They wanted a more simpler life, maintaining their original store and leaving all the major works to Ray. This caused many problems as although Ray assumed the major responsibilities, the brand still belonged to the brothers. If there were any significant changes that needed to be made, the approval of Richard and Maurice McDonald was required. Still, Ray carried on and opened up many restaurants under the company name McDonald's System Incorporated. After opening up many chains, Ray felt like the percentage he was getting was not enough. He worked multiple 12+ hour shifts, traveling, recruiting, and looking over the new shops. All this required more capital and more time, neither of which he had, and the brothers were adamant to not make any changes to the contract or increase the percentage that he would get. This annoyed Ray a little. He thought that he was doing all the work, growing the business, while the brothers lived a simple, happy, and no-stress life. That is where he met a man named Harry J. Sonborn. This would be another turning point in the history of the business. 2 years after Ray started working for the McDonald's brothers, he met Harry. Harry was working as the vice president of finances at Tasty Freeze, which was at that time one of the biggest companies. Harry came to Ray with an idea that would allow him to make profits and grow the business even more. He suggested opening up a new company. This shocked Ray. How would opening up a new company solve their money problem? Harry explained that during the time, all the McDonald's shops were set up in a land owned by other people. They rented the place to the shops. He further explained that if instead the franchisee rented the space from Ray himself, then he could make way more than the percentage that the contract obliged him to. Ray was very impressed. He hired Harry as the CEO of the newfound company called Franchise Realty Corp. Under this company, Ray bought the land and the buildings and offered them to the franchisee for rent. He would also charge a low price of $950 upfront payment with a way higher percentage of the total gross income. Although it was a significantly higher percentage than the contract offered, it was still in contention with other renters renting the land. With the reduced upfront payment, franchisees were lining up to open a new McDonald's. His venture into the real estate business would prove to be very beneficial for the company as it generates over 33% of the total revenue of McDonald's today. They have a total of $37.7 billion of real estate holdings in the present day. Before, he was struggling to find new franchisee, but now people were calling him. This was also because Ray used some very aggressive methods to grow the business. But this was concerning for the brothers. They thought that he was pushing this way further than they anticipated. They also maybe felt a little left out. They were constantly rejecting new offers and also rejected any change to the original contract. This friction between Ray and the brothers grew, and finally in 1961, Kroc felt that he had enough. He called the brothers and asked them directly about the amount they wanted to buy out the brand completely. The brothers asked for something that Ray was not expecting. They asked for $2.7 million, which would be around $28 million today. For a company that just started franchising, it would be a lot to ask for. Ray did not have that amount. He had a long talk with his advisors as well as Harry. Harry, being the former vice president of finance at a big company, had some connections through which he helped Ray to get the money he needed. Ray, although scared of the debt he would be in, believed that McDonald's would recover that amount in the near future. He took the loan and bought the company. Now, McDonald's belonged to Ray and Ray only. He could do whatever he wanted. There were also some rumors about an interaction of Ray with Walt Disney. Ray, during his initial days of working for the brothers, asked Walt Disney to have McDonald's in his Disney World expansion. Walt wanted to increase the price of fries from 10 cents to 15 cents and wanted to keep the profit for himself. Ray refused to gouge his loyal customers, and the deal eventually fell out. The start of Ray's McDonald's was great. They expanded all over the country with hundreds of new shops opening every year. He also made some decisions that made the brand even more popular. He invested in advertisements. He also invested in some of the shows which featured the product. This gave the company a whole new level of fame, and everyone was starting to recognize McDonald's. But this also came with some problems. First problem began when the speedy service was first introduced back in the 1940s. As the brothers did not expect this to be so famous, they gave everyone who wanted a tour of the inner workings and how everything operated. Because of this, many fast food companies started copying the system. Some companies like Burger King and KFC started to expand as well, competing in the same market of fast food as McDonald's. But Ray was a genius. He noticed that a large portion of their customer base were children. Also, because he himself had a child, he knew that parents would likely go to restaurants where their children would like to go too. So he made the decision to make it as appealing to children as possible. He made the mascot a clown called Ronald McDonald's, also with some other characters as well. They also gave out toys with their meals and made the first Happy Meal during the same time. This accelerated the growth of the company exponentially. No one was even close to the amount of stores that McDonald's had. Ray also merged the two companies, McDonald's System Incorporated and Franchise Realty Corp, into a single company named McDonald's Corp. There were massive changes happening. The next problem was that Ray found managing all the stores was becoming more and more difficult. The level of service and foods were not the same throughout. The hygiene conditions of some of the stores were not up to the standards that he hoped for. There was some level of hygiene that was being maintained as the land was owned by Ray and he could cancel the lease anytime he wanted. But the quality of the food for some of the chains was something to be desired. To solve this problem, he introduced some set of norms, rules and regulations of how to prepare the meals. These set of rules were to be followed to ensure that the customers get the best meal every time. These were vital, as with these instructions, the employees knew what to do for most of the situations. The company was bigger than ever before, bigger than even Ray imagined it. But at this time, there was a conflict with the then CEO, Harry, and the president, Ray. Harry, as we talked about, was the reason Ray ventured into the real estate business with McDonald's. They argued about the expansion of the company. Ray wanted to expand outside the country. He wanted to bring McDonald's to countries like Japan, Costa Rica, and Canada. But Harry was skeptical and thought that a major recession was coming. This would spell disaster for the company if they expanded outside of the US. Eventually, Harry left the company and Ray Kroc assumed the role of CEO himself. As Ray imagined, he would eventually open up different shops in many different countries, starting with Canada and Costa Rica in 1967. And although many other companies followed them, they set the standards very high. Kroc studied about why some companies fail to sell as much outside their country. He found that they try to incorporate the culture of the country into their products. This makes the product lose its original identity. McDonald's instead made the same products and changed the advertising methods based on the country. They asked the franchisee to make the advertisements that would be appropriate to their country. This made a huge impact and made the expansion a successful one. As with any big companies, there come scandals. Some of the scandals related to McDonald's were absurd, but one in particular had the greatest impact. So much so that McDonald's removed one of their portion sizes from all restaurants. Supersized Me. It's a film, an autobiography made by Morgan Spurlock. Before this autobiography, people often accused McDonald's that their food made them unhealthy and obese. There was a case filed against the company by two girls saying their food made them sick and unhealthy. Although McDonald's won the case, Spurlock was inspired to test whether the case actually holds any merit. So he embarked on a 1-month journey of only eating McDonald's. That meant that he can only eat McDonald's for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. During this month, he had tried all the items in the menu at least once. The results were shocking. He had gained over 24.5 pounds, which is approximately 11.1 kilograms. His cholesterol and blood pressure levels were off the roof, and he had a 13% gain in body fats. This documentary made huge waves in the world. The reputation of McDonald's was shattered. Shortly after it was released, McDonald's removed the supersized option from all its locations and also started putting up signs for eating healthy. That movie went on to be nominated for the Best Documentary at the Academy Awards. There is also one more scandal that costs McDonald's millions of dollars. It was the case of their fries being cooked using beef fat oil. It was taken to court in 2001 for a lawsuit of $100 million. The cooking of products in beef fat oil was not illegal, but the fact that McDonald's labeled fries as being 100% organic and cooked in vegetable oil was. Although they cooked the frozen fries at the restaurants in vegetable oil, the fries themselves were made using beef fat oil before being frozen. This angered a lot of people. McDonald's apologized to the public and all the groups affected by it. They paid millions of dollars because of the lawsuit. They still make their fries using beef fat oil in the US, but no longer hides the fact. Even with all the scandals, McDonald's survived. They kept on expanding their business. It's now the largest fast food chain in the world, with over 40,000 outlets worldwide and over 1.7 million employees. And that's the full story of the McDonald's. The company celebrates the Founders' Day on October 5th every year in the memory of Ray Kroc, not in the name of their original founders, Richard and Maurice McDonald's.